Welcome to The Explainer. So, you want to crack the code to living past 100? And no, I'm not talking about freezing yourself in a private lab or needing some massive billionaire-level biohacking budget. I am talking about living a vibrant, highly energetic century using the ultimate life hacks that are already proven by real, everyday people. Let's just dive right in.
Before we get to the actual hacks, we really have to address the elephant in the room. Do you need perfect genetics to hit 100? I mean, most of us just assume becoming a centenarian means you won the genetic lottery, right? Like if your grandparents didn't live to 95, well, you're just out of luck.
Well, you'd be wrong. Actually, the landmark Danish twin study established a pretty shocking truth. Only about 20%, just 20%, of how long the average person lives is dictated by our genes.
Think about that for a second. This completely flips the script on aging. If genetics only account for 20%, that leaves a massive 80% of your longevity entirely in your own hands. That 80% is driven by your daily environment and your lifestyle choices. You are literally in the driver's seat. So where exactly do we look to figure out what to do with that 80%?
We look right here to what are called the blue zones. Back in 2004, a researcher named Dan Buettner teamed up with National Geographic and a group of top demographers to find specific regions on the map where people hit age 100 at 10 times the rate of us here in the United States. They tracked down 5 distinct hotspots: Loma Linda in California, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria in Greece, and Okinawa in Japan.
Now, here's the absolute coolest part about these superagers. The people living in these blue zones, they aren't scientists, they aren't health influencers tracking their sleep scores, they are just everyday folks. We're talking about Sardinian shepherds who just casually walk miles up mountain paths every day. We're looking at Okinawan women who garden and meet up with their lifelong friends every single afternoon. We've got Californian Seventh-day Adventists eating a mostly plant-based diet. We have Ikarian painters, including one guy who literally moved back to the island after a terminal diagnosis, started taking daily naps, tended a vineyard, and basically just forgot to die. And then there's the Nicoyan farmers who have this profound, burning sense of daily purpose.
Buettner's team took all the habits of these superagers and distilled them down to the power 9. But for this explainer, we are breaking them down into 4 super simple, actionable steps: diet and intake, natural movement, community bonds, and mindset.
All right, let's jump into hack number 1, eat wisely, or what we call the 80% rule. Now, we are not talking about obsessively counting macros or doing some brutal, punishing restriction diet. In Okinawa, they have this 2,500-year-old Confucian mantra called Hara, Hachi, Bu. It simply means eating until your stomach is 80% full. That's it. That 20% gap between not being hungry anymore and feeling totally stuffed, that is the magic margin. It actively prevents weight gain, limits excess calories, and scientifically slows down your cellular aging process. Plus, they tend to eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening, and then they're just done eating for the day.
Beyond the 80% rule, they lean really heavily into what's called the plant slant. The absolute cornerstone of the centenarian diet across all these zones is beans: fava, black, soy, and lentils. Meat is pretty rare. It's maybe eaten 5 times a month, and only in a portion about the size of a deck of cards. The Loma Linda Adventists really pioneered this OG plant-based trend right here in the US. And for a fun twist, people in all the blue zones, well, except the Adventists, drink alcohol moderately and regularly. Sardinians show us that having a daily glass of Cannonall wine, which by the way is packed with artery-scrubbing flavonoids, enjoyed with friends at 5 o'clock, it actually provides massive cardiovascular and stress-relieving benefits.
Moving right along to hack number 2, move naturally. Let's talk about daily movement. This one kind of blows our modern fitness obsession totally out of the water. The world's longest-lived people? They don't pump iron, they don't run exhausting marathons, and they definitely don't buy expensive gym memberships just to abandon them a few months later. Instead, they live in environments that constantly nudge them to move without even thinking about it. We are talking about mindless daily movements: tending to a garden, kneading bread, doing housework by hand, or simply walking over to a neighbor's house. This gives you all the cardiovascular benefits of a hardcore workout, but without the brutal joint damage from pounding the pavement. It's just consistent, low-intensity movement all day long. Next up is hack number 3. Find your tribe, building those social support networks. You know, we focus so much on diet and exercise that we completely ignore the social aspect of aging. But science tells us that loneliness can shave up to 8 years off your life expectancy. It is literally as toxic as smoking. You absolutely need built-in companionship. In Okinawa, they have this amazing cultural tradition called a moai. Think of it as the original real-life group chat.
It's a group of about 5 friends who commit to each other for life. They meet up to gossip, drink tea, and pool their resources. If someone gets sick or runs into money trouble, the moai steps right in.
Just listen to this quote from Klozuko Mana, a 77-year-old moai member in Okinawa. It's much easier to go through life knowing there is a safety net. This isn't just about having buddies to grab a coffee with. It's about that deep, physical, stress-shedding security of knowing you are never, ever alone. This type of deep friendship circle is a literal lifesaver.
And that brings us to hack number 4, the daily downshift, shedding that daily stress.
Let's get one thing straight. People in the blue zones absolutely still experience stress. They deal with money troubles, family issues, and health scares just like us, which inevitably leads to chronic, age-accelerating inflammation. But the key difference? Superagers have built-in cultural pattern interrupts to shed that stress every single day. Okinawans take a few quiet moments to remember their ancestors. Loma Linda Adventists downshift for a full 24-hour Sabbath and pause to pray. Ikarians take a mid-afternoon nap, which, by the way, is proven to lower heart disease risk by up to 35%. And Sardinians? They hit the local bar for happy hour. The point is, they do not let the stress compound.
Okay, so how do you actually implement all this into your own life? Because let's face it, human willpower is pretty terrible. Relying on sheer brute force discipline to eat less and exercise more almost always fails. But research shows that we spend roughly 90% of our lives within just 5 miles of our home. This area is your life radius. To live like a centenarian, you have to proactively hack your physical environment, so the healthy choice just becomes the mindless, unavoidable choice. So here are some quick, actionable takeaways to engineer your own life radius right now. First, put a bowl of fresh fruit right out on the counter where you can see it and stash the junk food out of sight. Second, serve your meals at the stove, not family style on the table. This naturally stops you from mindlessly taking second portions and effortlessly enforces that 80% rule. Third, swap out some of your power tools for hand tools in the yard to kind of force some natural physical activity. And finally, curate your social feed and your real-life friends. Smoking, obesity, and even happiness are all proven to be socially contagious. You've got to surround yourself with active, positive people.
Now, I can literally hear the skeptics right now. Are these 100-year-olds actually real, or did they just conveniently lose their birth certificates? Skeptics have loudly claimed that blue zones are just the result of fraud, pension scams, or bad record-keeping. Well, let's flex the receipts, shall we?
The American Federation for Aging Research, alongside top gerontologists like Dr. Stephen Osted and Dr. Giovanni Pes, recently published a massive, comprehensive peer-reviewed paper absolutely destroying those critiques. They didn't just walk up and ask people how old they were. They rigorously cross-checked civil birth records, death certificates, church archives, and military registries going back over a century. If a case couldn't be conclusively validated, it was thrown out. The science is in, guys. These extraordinary populations and their lifespans are 100% real and completely validated.
So the blueprint is right there in front of you. You don't need a biohacked lab, you just need a lifestyle shift. But there is one final, incredibly crucial element we haven't touched on yet. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, they call it Plan de Vida. In Okinawa, they call it Ikigai. It loosely translates to why I wake up in the morning. Knowing your sense of purpose is literally worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. So I'm going to leave you with this. As you look to build your own personal blue zones starting today, what is your reason for waking up tomorrow? Find your purpose, find your tribe, and go add some serious life to your years. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.